Good morning, members, and welcome to the Communities Committee this morning. First thing I'd like to do is welcome Councillor Scobie. Was there a minute ago? Yeah, he's there. Is it? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure will make a valuable contribution to the business of this committee. Welcome, Willie. We've got a full agenda of business to deal with, and I'm particularly pleased to see reports that take forward decisions taken as part of the council budget. I'm also sure that we acknowledge the professional manner in which officers have progressed this business so speedily to get it here today. Claire, have you got a SEDERUNT apologies?
Thank you, Chair. We've got 19 members present this morning. One apology from Councillor Carruthers, and I've been advised Councillor Davison will be on later.
Thanks very much. Any declarations of interest? Jane?
Thank you. Yes, on item number 6, if I can go back to this and remember what on earth it was. I wrote it down on the front. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. I am related to a company that it has got trusted trader status.
Okay, noted.
So I will remove myself for that part of the, when you discuss that, I will remove myself because I think there is an issue there.
So you'll be okay for the first 3 parts of that decision making and then remove yourself or just not take part in the 4th? Yep.
If that's okay, Chairman.
If you feel you should need to leave, then it should be to leave for that part of it. You don't get the option to sit there and say nothing.
Okay. Well. And there's, well, Jesus. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant because we were at that stage we're saying do you agree or not, and says yes, and then she says go out and come back in. But we'll obviously take your advice. Anyone else? Yeah. So, are you going to remove yourself? Are you just letting us know, or are you declaring interest and want to leave that discussion? Well, I mean, I could ask the governance officer, but ultimately it's your decision. Fine. Well, you've declared interest and you're prepared to stay. I think that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah. To be clear here, it's always up to the individual member to determine whether they have an interest to declare, and then when you declare that interest, you've got 2 options. You're either the interest is so that you can stay and be part of the meeting, or the interest is such that you leave.
Okay, anyone else? No. Excuse me. In that case, we'll move on to the item 3, the minute of the meeting of 31st of January. This is for noting. John? Okay. So, are you happy to move or happy to second? Either one.
We'll move it.
John will move and I'll second. Okay. It's been to full council. It's just a noting exercise. Okay, so we'll go to item 4, the Revenue Monitoring Report for the period ending up to 31st of December. The purpose of the report is to provide members with an overview of the financial performance against budget for the communities for 2018-19 based on the monitoring information for the period up to the 31st of December 2018. Reassuring the Communities Directorate continues to bring forward monitoring reports that are delivering a balanced budget. We've got Gillian Ross here to take any questions on the report. And I'm minded just to go straight to questions. Ian?
Chairman, my apologies, my hand's been up for quite some time. It was actually in relation to the minutes. Because item at 7.6, it was agreed the Chair to write to the Cabinet Secretary, just to see if you've had a response to that and if it's going to be shared.
That response was shared with your group leader. So he should have circulated to you.
Did you say the response has been shared or the letter has been shared?
Both. There have been questions for the Finance Officer? In that case, we'll just go straight to recommendations. One is based on the monitoring position up to December 2018. Communities are projecting an underspend of 52,000. Note, that's Appendix 1. And 2, progress against the delivery of the agreed savings supplied to the 2018-19 Communities Budget, Appendix 2. And 3, progress on the delivery of policy development initiatives included within the community's budget, Appendix 3. Right. Gillian, thanks very much. Short and sweet. Aye. Okay, we come to item 5. This is another detailed report on welfare reform, and it highlights the benefits of our council's commitment to protecting vulnerable people and making sure we undertake early interventions to prevent poverty and homelessness. We've got Harry Hay and Paula Doherty here. Take any questions on the report. I'm minding you just to go straight to questions. Tracy?
Thank you, Chair. It was just a little bit of clarity. First of all, page 36, Appendix 2. It's absolutely fantastic, the work the department's doing on keeping the length of time it takes for someone to access get the funds from the crisis grant down. Again, this is great. But we have the community care grants. That time's up a little bit. Is this due to the resources that are needed to address the crisis grants so quickly?
Yes.
Any other questions? Ian?
Thank you, Chairman. It's quite simple, and it's on page 35. I'm sure I should know, but I don't. The table shows that DTP. Could you tell me what that means and what also the 0.81, what that's referring to?
DTP is days to process. It doesn't fit in very well if I write it in full. And 0.8.
What that figure actually refers to? No, it's 0.81, the top.
0.81 days to process. So 0.8 of a working day is the length of time it takes to process those applications, from application received to decision.
Okay, Ian? Yep. Anybody else? John?
No, it's just an observation, more or less. It's quite satisfying that the customer 47 convictions were prevented. Means a saving the intervention, the costs of £564,000. I think they've got to be congratulated for that work, taking it forward.
Thanks, Chair. If I could just say, obviously, members are well aware that we've committed to try and be more preventative than reactionary. So the reason we included these types of case studies in this report is to demonstrate the real impact on people's lives it's now having.
Thanks, Harry. John Young.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I found the case studies in the report very useful and informative of the very difficult and hard work that you do, and you should be congratulated. Just for my own understanding, I see one-off payments are made, crisis grants are made. In what form are these payments made? Are they vouchers? Are they cash? Are they paid into bank accounts? I just wondered how these payments were actually made.
For crisis grants, we utilise a company called PayPoint, and they provide payments via PayPoint outlets. We send customers a text message which has a code on it, and they take that code to a PayPoint outlet, and that outlet gives them cash. There's over 200 outlets across Dumfries and Galloway, and it's the easiest and quickest way for us to get customers the money.
Thanks very much. Sean?
Thanks. It was just really a general question with regards to the PIP, the personal independence payment. What kind of, when people submit those, what kind of timescales are we looking at here? Is it months or weeks? And has that been affected by, things that have happened over the last year or so?
Applications for PIP are made to the Westminster Government Department for Work and Pensions, and at the minute, processing times are probably around 2 to 3 months, depending on the case. Some cases take longer, and some are quicker.
So it'll depend on the complexity.
It generally depends on the complexity of the case, but also the DWP have the same workload issues as we all do, where rising workloads cause and a delay in processing of actual applications. What we've noted recently is there was some case law around mental health and personal independence payment, and they have committed to revisiting all decisions in relation to that as part of that case law outcome. In order to facilitate that review, they've delayed transitioning any further people across from DLA into PIP to try and manage their workload, because if they continue down the review path, then they'll create a block and cause significant impacts for the customers.
Thank you. Any more questions? Jane?
It's really not so much a question, but I mean, I think I echo other members' views, Chairman, about congratulating the staff on the proactive approach, because, I mean, you've got information here about both saving public money through being proactive and avoiding personal distress, and both of those things are absolutely right. But as things get tighter, we have to be able to show that being compassionate and doing what we need to do, Chairman, actually is the right thing to do from the point of view of the public purse, following the public pound, as well as the avoidance of distress and personal circumstances. So I want to commend that, but I do think we need to continue to see that it is the right approach on all sides. I mean, for example, are we getting sustained improvement? Do we see the same customers coming round all the time, or is it different people?
The general process for the Welfare and Housing Options team is they deal with a customer, resolve their immediate issues, but work with that customer in a coaching, supportive role ongoing. So we would say to a customer, to resolve your immediate issue, we'll do this, and then you'll do that, and then in some time we'll do this again. And we revisit that customer probably every 12 weeks, 26 weeks. We don't generally see the same customer coming back time and time again, but you will appreciate there are a number of customers who have completely chaotic lives, who are going to keep coming back to us. The aim is to work with them and have them continue to work with us to prevent that recurring in the future.
Okay, Willie, did you want in?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm really looking at page 39, at the various reasons for awards and year from 2013-14 up to 2018-19. You know, and I'm just wondering whether that tells a tale, and whether we're getting a true reflection of just exactly what work Paula and our team are doing, and whether we're getting to grasp, or indeed can we get to grasp with the issues out there, however sympathetic we may be. I'm looking, you know, and the bedroom taxation deed, we're still seeing a decrease on this year than what it was 2017-18, but it's still there. The actual legislation has not been repealed. We're looking at financial hardship, you know, and an ever increasing. I'm just wondering, you know, if they're not the same recurrent, are we getting to the people that are really facing the hardship out there when we're seeing a continual increase on a week-by-week basis to people using food banks, cafes that we've set up? Are we really getting to, you know, or are we just dealing with the tip of the iceberg when there are many more there that are not making the application, and even when they do, the rest of the money to go round? I'm not getting that from the report.
Willie, to be fair, I'll let Paul in a second. This has been an accumulation, and this is the end of a long process. I appreciate your first day back with this committee, but I'll let Paula come in.
We continue to monitor DHP applications and spend in relation to the policy and the awards that are being made. The link between discretionary housing payment and welfare and housing options, which as mentioned earlier, is quite strong. So customers that we feel need additional support would be referred round that loop for the additional support.
Thanks, I've lost my pen. No big panic. Are you happy with that, Willie? Yeah.
You know, and I appreciate, and I do know the work that Paula does, and you know, I frequently have to contact Paula, and we're doing it again this week with somebody that's coming to see me. You know, that's finding that her monthly income has reduced dramatically, and Paula has helped in the past. The question was, you know, and it may be a political question for me, whether we're actually getting, you know, we're dealing with the poverty and the crisis that's going on out there in the communities with people, that have compelled to use food banks and so forth, and maybe it's not reflected in this report.
Okay, I totally get your point, Willie, and I think you're right. It's probably the tip of the iceberg. This will go, something's going to run for a long, long time. But Paul is here to answer questions on historical stuff here today, no gaze into the future. So are we comfortable with that? Okay then, so we'll move to recommendations. At 2.1, we're asked to note the work of the Welfare and Housing Options Team, paragraph 3.2, and the value of the potential future costs averted due to this team's interventions. 2, note the current position with the Scottish Welfare Fund, paragraph 3.4, and 3, note the 2019-20 discretionary housing payment allocation from the Scottish Government, paragraph 3.5.2, and 4, agree the amendment to the discretionary housing payment policy, paragraph 3.5.3. The agreement to all that, I think I'd like to ask Derek to, some of you will know that there's a magazine circular or update goes round the whole department, and I think what we're picking up from members here is that we're appreciative of the work and going the extra mile that this team does. Can you reflect that in your thing, Derek?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Yeah, more than happy, members, to ensure that we put some feedback in the staff newsletter. All members receive a copy of that, as you previously requested. So again, if MD's not receiving that, please let me know. But we'll certainly continue to feature the work that our staff are doing, and we're far from complacent, because quite clearly we have significant issues of poverty, and we're working collaboratively across the council with our partners to do our best to mitigate the worst impacts of all that the poverty brings. So happy to include that in the next newsletter. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Derek. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, Housing Scotland Act Scheme of Assistance. The purpose of this report is to present a summary of the operation of the Council's Scheme of Assistance for homeowners and private sector tenants for 2018-19. The report also sets out proposed budget allocations for 2019-20. The annual review of the Dumfries and Galloway Health and Social Care Partnership budget is a matter reserved for full council. This determines the budgets delegated to the Integration Joint Board. Therefore, this committee is asked to make a recommendation to full council as detailed in section 2 below. Jamie Little will take any questions on the report, and again, I'm minded to move straight to questions. David, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. If we can go to page 44 and 45. Page 45, the food train extra. There's a comprehensive breakdown there of how that money's spent throughout the region, the various areas. On page 44, the allocation of 149,000 to the handy van, there is no such breakdown. It would be interesting to know how that money is spent across the region.
Somebody take up, Jamie?
Thanks, Chair. Unfortunately, I don't have that to hand at the moment, but be happy to share that out with the committee if that was useful to the member.
Chair, I think it's important that we have that for the full council. When you look at the figures in relation to food train extra and the handy van and the number of tasks they carry out for the amount of money, I think it's important that we see exactly where that 149,000 is spent.
Absolutely, totally agree with you as an IGB member. Yeah, that should be part of the report to full council, explaining exactly what it's all about. Yeah, we can cover that. Okay. Willie?
Yeah, on the same page, Chair. And there's a couple of issues. 3.2, the small repairs and home support services, and again at the bottom, in dementia-friendly designs. One is totaling 149k and the other one is 15k. And you opened your remarks by saying that the budget for the IGB is determined by the full council. And I don't know how you're placed, Chair, being on the IGB, whether there is an interest there, but nevertheless, that's for you to determine. Are we, and the question was asked there, is this adding value to that, or is it all part of the council's overall budget that they provide to the IJB? And does this go anywhere to contributing towards people on delayed discharges and so forth, or is it a separate part of the overall budget? I'm looking at, whether we're monitoring and getting value for the money that we are putting into the IJB.
Just before you come in, Jamie, just to put the record straight, this council made a decision that members of the IGB didn't have to declare an interest in the IGB every single time it came about, because it's a separate body. Yeah.
To be clear, there's a dispensation in place with the Standards Commission. There's no need to declare.
So that was it. So your question in the middle there is, Jamie, can you pick that up?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. These projects are additional projects that are funded by the council, obviously aimed at helping people to remain in their own homes for as long as possible and avoid the need for additional residential placements. The funding is monitored through a care and repair steering group that the council sits on. There's also representatives from finance and the IJB on that steering group.
And it is a delegated service?
That's correct, yeah. The day-to-day operation of it is managed by the IJB.
So this is a procedural paper, Willie, to actually recommend to full council that this money gets transferred across as part of your delegated function. So this isn't to dig down into what actually happens there. I would suggest that's maybe a full council issue. In that case, we'll go to recommendations. Okay, 1, agree to recommend to Dumfries and Galloway Council an allocation of 149,000 to the Dumfries and Galloway Health and Social Care Integration Joint Board to fund the small repairs and home support services, paragraph 3.2. We just add in there that we'll expect a fuller description of what that is at full council, in the full council papers. 2, agree to recommend to the Dumfries and Galloway Council an allocation of 15,000 to the Dumfries and Galloway Health and Social Care Integration Joint Board to fund the dementia-friendly design project at paragraph 3.3. 3, to agree to recommend to the Dumfries and Galloway Council an allocation of 37,400 to the Dumfries and Galloway Health and Social Care Integration Joint Board to fund food train extra, which is explained at paragraph 3.4. And 4, agree to allocate 35,000 to support the sustained development of the Trusted Trader Scheme as set out in paragraph 3.5. Agreed. And I'm assuming, Derek, that the reports and all this will be reported back to full council.
Yeah, the delegation will come back to full council through the IJB. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll move on. Can you get Jane, please? Yeah. Thanks, Jane. And Andrew, do you want in?
Thanks, Chair. Just for this next item, actually, I've hit my wee star on the page there. I have got a declarable interest in the fact that I'm a trustee of the Development Trust, and I will also be trading at the Skiffy Worlds, so I'll take my leave out of the room for this item.
Thanks for being honest, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, is that everybody back? Yeah. Item 7. Major festivals and events strategy, proposed grants, programme and sector development initiatives. Report seeks member approval for grant awards to major festivals and event projects as recommended by the Dumfries and Galloway Events Partnership. Dumfries and Galloway is leading the way in hosting a wide range of major festivals and community events. Supporting this week is key to our priority of building the local economy. Not week. I'm sure you will agree we have a great number of festivals and events to look forward to throughout the coming year. The report also outlines the sector development initiatives that are proposed for the financial year 2019-20. And I've got Harry Thompson and Ian Barr here to take any questions on the report. And again, I'm minded to go straight to the questions. I've got Adam first, yeah, then Graham.
Thanks. Yeah, I just really want to welcome the report. I think that this is probably a wee bit of a different report than we've had in previous years. I think that's down to two factors. Firstly, the strategy evolving and really looking at not just supporting those big festivals and events, but growing a sector of the industry, growing a sector of the economy in Dumfries and Galloway, and in the process supporting our communities and providing jobs. Also, as well, I think it's the good work that's went on, not only as part of this strategy, but as part of the council's work to support events and festivals and showing what opportunities are available in Dumfries and Galloway, and those are being marketed very well in events, and festival organisers are seeing actually what a great place this is to come and host that event and festival, and the support that can be provided. I think what I would like to add is another recommendation, just to commend event organisers, volunteers and supporters who really help to keep this strategy going. We see in the Stranraer Oyster Festival, the whole community get behind it. We see schools coming and supporting the teams at the ice hockey championships, and if it wasn't for those, I don't think this strategy would be as nearly as successful, and that's a lot of time put in by people from volunteering to organise an event, because not all of them are paid, but they've done a huge amount for these events, huge amount for our communities, and huge amount for the economy, and I think that we should recognise that today.
Thanks for coming that. Your suggestion at the end, was that more a statement than a question, really, wasn't it? Yeah. Graham and then David James.
Thanks, Chair. It's obviously it's interesting reading the number of events we're funding in this region. Take an example. How do we carry out the economic impact? Obviously, you've got return on the public pound as well, high, low, medium. Take for example, so the Scottish Rally or the Galloway Hills. How are we monitoring this? Are we conducting a survey with guest houses and hotels and other public houses? Just wondering how is this done, because I'm interested to see how you collate these figures, and at the end of the day we're trying to promote people in the region. At the end of the day we've got to see some positive impacts in it. So I was just wondering how you collate these figures. Is it independently done or is it done in-house?
Ian.
Thank you, Chair. There's two primary ways how we collect the figures. A number of events, through their own funding, undertake formal economic impact studies. Those don't happen every year, so in regards to the point about the Scottish Rally and the Galloway Hills Rally, the Council funded a study approximately 4 years ago, and we have that baseline information on the rallies and their economic impacts. And the economic impacts of those events come primarily from the competing rally teams, and there's a huge number of volunteers coming from all over Scotland and the UK to help marshal the rallies. So we have that baseline information and we update it year by year, and that's the case with a number of other festivals and events too. Members are frequently interested in this question, and we've used the same methodology for 7 or 8 years, which is we only collate the information on visitors from out with the region, so that we know that these visitors are making a net contribution to the region, plus the events on expenditure. So I collate that information on behalf of the Council, closely scrutinising the post-festival event reports of the funded events.
Okay, Graham. David James.
Thank you, Chair. Events, yeah, definitely a really good thing. We definitely need them. But surely at a time of short budgets, or let's say less big budgets, they need to be sensible, they need to be sustainable. And I'm thinking of Youth Beats, which is not trying to be sustainable, it's just getting money year after year after year. And that is an opportunity cost, because we could be
it's not an agenda, David, that's a different committee.
Other new events, and I'm bothered that some of these events are in the same category.
David, excuse me, don't want to cut you off the floor, but just a second, please. Youth Beats isn't administered by this committee.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, so can you restrict your comments to this committee in this report, please? Really helpful if you could do that.
That's what I'm doing in my own inept way. So, because I believe that events shouldn't become a burden like the one previously mentioned, I'd like to ask how many of these events have been funded for more than 3 years by us, because I believe the money could be better spent than being reinvested continually in the same events, because we should spark new events to happen, and then the amount of events in the region would grow. And the officer mentioned funding of surveys. Do we know how much we spend actually just gathering statistics of these events? Can I have that information, please, as well? Thank you.
Okay, well, just first, before I let Ian in, we as a committee agreed to support some of these events for 3 years. It's a 3-year programme. Yeah, absolutely, I get that. I think your question though is how many of them have been in, we've been helping to support for more than 3 years. Is that the question? Yeah. Thank you. Ian.
Thank you. As the Chair said, 65-70% of the funding is ring-fenced for the region's signature events. And those signature events have been funded now principally for 6, 7, 8 or more years. But the point I would make is that every year their economic impacts go up and up. So for a consistent level of funding, we're deriving a greater return to the regional economy. And the classic example there would be Wigtown Book Festival, which is worth between £3.5 million and £4 million to the regional economy. So we're safeguarding our economic benefit to the region. As well as the 7 signature events, a quick calculation is that the Galloway Hills Rally is being funded again for the 4th or 5th year in a row. But again, that will generate more economic benefit than the previous year because it's part of the British Rally Championship this year. We're funding the Newton Stewart Traditional Music Festival for the 3rd year in a row, and we're funding the Oyster Festival for the 3rd year in a row. And we believe the economic impacts of these events will grow year on year.
Chair, you mentioned that we agreed to fund events for 3 years. Did we then agree to fund events for more than 3 years at the same time then?
No. No, they'll be reviewed. What you're talking about is historical, David. Yes, we set the plan out just over a year ago to support these events over the next 3 years. But that's obviously subject to constant scrutiny and appraisal. And if there was something drastically wrong, for example, we could be bringing it back.
So we don't have a policy only to support for 3 years. We're just prepared to support these events for 3 years.
I think we would suggest this committee would look at every application on its merits. So, and given your own contacts, you know, we welcome the European youths back to Southern Est, for example. Do your best. Any other questions, John Young?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to see the inclusion of the Castle Douglas Harvest Food Festival being supported for the next 3 years, but my question is, could you tell me the location of the Halloween project? Where is it going to take place?
The Halloween project is currently reviewing different properties in Dumfries. It's a cultural project, but also a regeneration project to create a Halloween experience in a disused building. So they're working with the Stove and other partners in Dumfries to locate that building at the moment.
Okay, John. Any other questions? David?
Thank you, Chair. Again, page 49, I note the Newton Stewart Traditional Music and Dance Festival has received an almost 50% cut in its funding this year, which is going to impact fairly heavily on the event. The allocation percentage has their allocation, the percentage that they've been allocated from the fund is very low. Can you give me some explanation as to that?
I would think that's probably the scoring system, but Ian?
The award last year was actually £8,000 plus £3,000 to help them buy permanent infrastructure. So that was a way of, you know, the events partnership recommending to the council of long-term support for the Newton Stewart Traditional Music Festival. It did score quite lowly in comparison to other events because of the scoring system and its economic impacts. That was another reason as well. So the cut isn't as great as you think. And with other events such as a World Championship, Coastal Rowing World Championship in Stranraer, Newton Stewart Traditional Music and Dance Festival did apply to the competitive element of the strategy, and the events partnership were still keen to support their growth and their development. That organisation is showing really broader skills at bringing in a range of funding. So they've got a bigger budget this year than they had last year.
For that, David, yeah. Any other questions? In that case, I'll go to recommendations, where note the recommendations of the Events Partnership appendices 1 to 3. Happy to note. 2, approve funding of 58k to the 6 successful applicants to the Major Events Strategic Fund, paragraphs 310 to 328. Agreed. 3, approve the recommendation to create 4 regional growth events for Dumfries and Galloway under the policy terms of the Major Festivals and Events Strategy, and award funding of 15k to those events. That's set out in paragraphs 3.28 to 3.33. Agreed. And 4, approve the 16,000 expenditure on the Major Festivals and Events Strategy sector development initiatives. That's paragraphs 3.34 to 3.44. Okay, we're happy. And the last thing, I'm going to add another one in here, is coming from the events champion, is to recognise all the volunteers across all the events and any staff that's involved for their contributions over the period. Is that? Sorry? And supporters, yeah. Okay, so we can incorporate that in. Are we happy with that? Yeah. Okay, agreed. Thanks very much. Move on to item 8. Clean DG. Thanks very much, Ian. Clean DG, using local knowledge, enhancing community involvement and tailoring our services to provide better care for our neighbourhoods. Report by Head of Civic and Local Services. Purpose of the report is to seek members' agreement to the implementation of the Clean DG initiative and the Neighbourhood Champions initiative. Our council plan made a commitment to Clean DG, and this report sets out a pioneering way for our council to tackle litter. Again, I've got Harry and Jamie James to take any questions on the report, and I'm minded to go straight to questions. Ian?
Thank you, Chairman. It's on page 69, 2.2, the recommendation. It refers to paragraph 373. As far as I could say, it only goes up to 3.7, nothing after that.
Harry?
Yes, Chair, clearly a bit of an editing issue there. In terms of the neighbourhood champions, there is certainly reference to them within the body of the report. I'd have to certainly refer members to Appendix 2, where there's a significant discussion of neighbourhood champions, and the reference to them within the body of the report is really within 3.83. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Yeah. Jane, Rob, and then Jim Dempster. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of points, really, because I know this is really an enabling report to get people to come forward with a final proposal. So I just wonder if I could make some comments. When we went through this, there were a couple of points, which is that we really want to commend and celebrate current champions. There are people already who really go out, and I would very much like to actually, I suppose, use them as the kind of vanguard, because what they've done is terrific. And so it will be an opportunity both to say, you've been brilliant, and what you've been doing actually has got the council in behind you. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's an exercise. So I'd like to make certain that we do that, rather than rushing in and saying, right, we're going to have something new, and ignoring what they've done. I also wonder, in Appendix 2, we thought possibly that the proposal with the pictures, the audit checklist, we thought maybe that asking people to comment on individuals' front gardens and boundary fencing and property conditions perhaps wasn't absolutely appropriate to be specifically like that. What we could do, because you might want to capture that what is happening, what you could do is simply put in a miscellaneous, any other comments you might like to tell the council, because when you get something very specific that number 42 is in a terrible state and it comes through, I think that's maybe what you don't want to do. People, for all sorts of reasons, don't look after their front gardens. So I think that's just a matter of sensitivity. But generally speaking, I'm absolutely pro this, and I commend the fact that the A75 has been so successful. Really a great success. And I know that this is not what we are talking about here, although it is mentioned. But I'm sure that we should all step forward and do our bit to help. I don't know how you change people's behaviour. I really don't. The ability just to chuck stuff out of and down is something that is completely beyond me. I don't understand how people do it. But if we can get the public to get on side like this, I think it's a really good thing.
Okay, just to try and summarise that then. So basically what you're saying is we should be recognising the current participants who are actually actively doing something. I think that's an open door we're kicking there. I think it's ready there, and I think that's a given, and I'm sure the officers will take that on board. The issue in Appendix 2, the only comment I would make, Jane, is that whilst I appreciate your concerns, and I'll let the officers come in a minute, it does also help identify health issues, for example, particularly mental health, or other issues that might be, the state of the garden could be indicative of what's happening inside the house. Not always, but sometimes, and I would hate to lose that opportunity to identify a family that was in distress, because we kind of hid from it. But I take your point. I'll kind of let Harry and Jamie come in.
Chair, I think, yes, this would need to be handled sensitively, but there is the ability to potentially to refer to schemes of assistance, such as we were discussing in the previous agenda item. So it wouldn't be a case of highlighting people for a public consumption in terms of the condition of their garden, but potentially a means of channeling them through the appropriate agencies.
Rob?
Thank you, Chairman. To an extent, picking up on one of Councillor Maitland's points, I want to link 3.6 and 3.83. Certainly enhancing community involvement, I think, is very important, and I think Councillor Maitland's absolutely right that we need to recognise that the folk who've been doing this for years, potentially, already. So when we present this as a new thing, we don't want to suggest that it's a new thing and we have somehow overlooked the contributions that people have already been making over a sustained period. I mean, this is £1.4 million of avoidable expenditure. If we can somehow change the culture on this, then we have £1.4 million to spend on other things, and goodness knows we could do with it. And I do think perhaps that is part of the message. I mean, if we have to spend money on clearing up after thoughtless people, then by definition we cannot spend it on things that some of those very same people will be complaining about us no longer being able to resource. That, I think, is perhaps one issue. However, I said I wanted to link 3.6 and 3.83. I think the approach is absolutely right. This is not simply a matter for a single service. That it will have relevance to the broader council. And it just happened to cross my desk that a couple of individuals contacted me entirely randomly to say they'd been quite bemused to discover that where they went out and on a very regular basis did some cleaning up in their local area, it was then quite difficult for them to get the local household waste recycling centre to accept the stuff that they'd collected. Now, it was, of course, capable of being resolved. It wasn't an insoluble problem, but it should have been capable of being resolved at the first instance. And so I think if we can implement this approach, then that should be able to iron all of those things out, such that it ought to be very easy and straightforward for someone who's being public spirited to turn up with the stuff, and we're able just to deal with it and take it off their hands, given that they are assisting us really materially in helping keep the place clean. So I think this is a really good way forward, but I wanted to highlight the example in my view of why it's actually very necessary, because we've got the public spirited folk already, and we want to make life as easy as possible for them to assist us.
Thanks, Rob. Jim Dempster and then Willie.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to make a reference just briefly to influence and litter behaviour, enhancing community involvement and making best use of the resources. I actually applaud this paper. It's a good paper. It's a very positive way forward. And I see good examples right across my ward, and I'm sure every other member in this chamber, every other member in the council will be able to say the same about some members of the community. But as well as the carrot or the incentive, I think there should also be a stick. You know, I seriously believe that. I spent some time once in Singapore, and I was in a taxi, and I said to the driver, Singapore's very clean, you know. He said, if any litters, we find them, and second time the litters just go straight to jail. And I don't promote that particular idea, but I have concerns. And if you look at 382, in the paper it says, numerous studies have shown that littering is a result of attitudinal and behavioural problems. I see an academy in my ward where the janitor, the first hour after lunchtime, spends his time getting up with a litter the kids throw down. And I think there should be and I don't think this paper covers that. There should be an interdepartmental discussion and engagement about how to stop attitudes at a young age and how to teach kids what's right and wrong with littering, because that then reflects in their adult life. And the only other thing I'll say, and it talks about making best use of resources, this council just spent a lot of money putting CCTV up in some towns in my ward, towns and villages in my ward. And I think that our community wardens should be able to access that, sort out the images, identify the culprits and find them, because there's nothing surer. A hit in your pocket certainly makes you focus on what you've done wrong. So I'm absolutely, and I realise I've drifted a bit away from the paper. The paper is about a positive engagement with communities. I welcome it. I think it's right. I think communities will welcome it because they do take pride in the place they live in. But as well as that, we should be doing more to show the people that do care and people that do invest their time willingly and free that we will do our bit to ensure that people who ignore that and break the law are punished if we're in a position to do so. And that's maybe not needing a response for officers. It's just what I feel, Chair.
Well, I'm glad you got it off your chest, Jim. That's the big thing. Yeah. And you're the left wing as well. Well, I think it was there wasn't a question here. I think it was just general support for the
No, just an observation, Chair, and hope officers take note.
Okay, yeah. Willie?
Yeah, Chair, I'm looking at, and Rob made reference, and I think someone else did too, in terms of 3.1, and the estimated clearing litter cost of 1.4 million. I take that's out with the street scene cleaning that we do and we have got responsibility for. So it's more to the hinterlands or out with town centres, etc. Because when I look at 3.84, and it does make reference to the fact that Dumfries and Galloway Council, through civic and local services, etc., is the responsible authority for the clearance of litter from the trunk roads in the region, and that it's really down to the EEI staff and enterprise services to do that. I came through this morning and I did notice that not all the bins have been removed. Now, whether they're used is another question. But I'm trying to get to grasp as to what this actually means, because I look at page 79 and it talks about events to get involved in, and it talks about as a neighbourhood champion and recognising that we do have people that go out there and in their civic duties, civic responsibilities, they do clean many of the beaches where there's a grey area as to who has got responsibility. But we look here at graffiti, fly tipping, fly posting on page 79, excessive litter, dog fouling, street light problems, and overhanging trees and shrubs. Just exactly what are we asking you to try and save that £1.4 million? Because what the report doesn't say is how that £1.4 million is broken down and actually spent on what types of cleaning is done out with our responsibility under the street scene, in terms of our responsibility to keep our towns, centres, etc., clean, lifting or rubbish, etc. So while the report is being welcome. I just wonder what the impact will be on the 1.4 million. What are we asking people to do to volunteer for and going out there and cleaning? Is it the A77, A75, and start cleaning that in some way to reduce the 1.4 million? Is it to ask them to go and lift dog dirt from the streets? Because that there's reference to it in there. What is it we're asking people to do, but they think they're already paying their council tax for?
Harry?
Chair, the £1.4 million is the essentially the element of budget within community assets that's allocated to street cleansing. That budget has reduced somewhat over the last number of years, and clearly it remains under pressure, and it remains under pressure due to littering. There is some litter that's unavoidable, but frequently the litter on our streets has been dropped carelessly and with complete disregard for the cleanliness of the region. So getting people involved in litter picks helps to keep that budget adequate to deal with litter within the region. Getting people involved in reporting issues such as graffiti, fly tipping, fly posting, excess litter, dog fouling is not to say we're asking them to necessarily address it. We're asking them to highlight to our staff so that they can go and address these issues within our streets. But the more people take on some responsibility for the local areas, and it's probably not going to be the people that drop the litter that take that responsibility, but the more people take that responsibility for their local areas, then the more we can address some of the priority areas. And we certainly would not ask people to go out and litter pick on the A75 or the A76 or the 77. But in order to enable our staff to go out and address those areas, it's very helpful if people are actually doing litter picks in some of the areas where there are less health and safety issues. So this is not about asking people to replace what the council does. It's asking people to go that little bit further to help with their own areas and to supplement what the council does to actually improve the look and the conditions within neighbourhoods in Dumfries and Galloway over and above what we can do within the resources we have.
Thanks, Harry. I've got David, James, Sean, and then Willie back in again. Okay, we go first time each things, Willie. That's the kind of protocol we've adopted here. So David, and then Sean, and then Willie back again.
Thank you. Backing up Councillor Dempster, yes, we do need a deterrent, and if he'd like to propose that we bring back the public stocks to the markets, the mid-steeple area, I would second that, both as a deterrent and a means to bring more people to the town centre. I've asked this before. What is the case when someone shows up at one of the dumps with a trailer load of plastic articles that he's picked up from the beach? Can he still be turned away, or has that situation changed?
Well, I haven't dealt with that myself in the past. It used to be arranged. There was a pre-arranged system, but I'll let Harry come in.
Chair, things should be easier now that the waste disposal sites are completely within council control rather than being run by a private company. And certainly if there is a notification beforehand that a litter pick has taken place, then those articles should be accommodated within the civic amenity sites. There are issues potentially with people bringing in trailer loads of plastic, because that could be from private land, and therefore there's potentially issues there, because that's not a council within the municipal waste stream approved by the council. So we need to be aware of that, and that's one of the issues that we'll take forward with colleagues within what will be roads and infrastructure service in the future, in terms of trying to make sure that there's a consistent approach to dealing with that waste, and ensure that people have the ability to deal with litter that's been picked up from public land.
Thanks. Harry, as well, I think we should be suggesting to groups who are going to be doing things like this that they arrange a strategy, a process of disposing of whatever they're going to collect, and because there's no point moving it from A to B
I was just thinking of a private individual. It was a Sunday morning, beautiful day, been out on the beach. He filled his trailer load with things he picked off the beach, went to the dump, and was just, the guy said, "Where did you get that from?" He said, "I picked it up from the beach." He said, "Okay, I wish you hadn't told me that, you'll have to go." And he then asked us, "Well, where can I take it?" "Well, it's not our problem." And is that still the case?
Sorry. Derek will come in, but I still make the point to you. She should not have, or they should not have done it without having a strategy for getting rid of it when they picked it up off the beach. Right, absolutely. So it's there's no win-win here, David. I think everybody's got a responsibility in this situation, but Derek's going to come in.
No, just to reaffirm what you've said, Chairman, that in the ideal world, any individual who is doing a good deed, we certainly don't want to create barriers. However, there are individuals who would choose on occasions to use these sites inappropriately, and we have to therefore legislate for that. Therefore, the best policy, as the Chairman has indicated, is anybody who is undertaking these good deeds, let us know in advance, and therefore there will be no issues whatsoever in that waste being dealt with appropriately.
Yeah, this particular problem is part of the wide range of problems. Is that an EEI matter? Because I'd like to bring it up in the appropriate committee with a range of other issues that apply to the dumps. Just for your guidance. Question.
We're past that. You've already had 2 goes at that. You know the protocol here. You get 1 go and then
I know you can't drill down. I know that.
And come back to you. Okay, that means everybody gets a fair share of the questions in the right order. So that someone's not waiting for a long time. Okay, Sean, Willie, if you want back in, I'll let you back in. Okay, but that's the way we run this committee. Right.
I would put him in the stocks for misbehaving there. He's had 2 or 3 goes. I kind of disagree with Willie, just in relation to the beach cleanups. That if they're properly organised, then communities or someone else, SEPA, etc., will arrange to remove that rubbish. So there is a mechanism in place. But with regards to Willie's point, I don't think people in Dumfries and Galloway now, constituents, expect the council to do everything with litter. I think the cuts and to the services over the last 10 years, people are now willing to actually help out a little bit. And I can only give my examples I see in Arndale South Ward, but I'm sure you'll all see them as well. In Arnhem, we've got a group of about 20 people that go out and organised litter picks. And actually, they're ably assisted by the communities team who provide them with litter pickers, etc., and then pick up the rubbish afterwards. We've got 2 ladies in Eastriggs that actually every morning will go out with a plastic bag and walk around and pick up litter. It's not about expecting the council to do it. They want to enhance and help towards that because they've got pride in their communities. And myself, even as a trustee of the playing park down in Eastriggs, the Melbourne playing field, we actually have an hour every Saturday and we go and pick up litter as well. So I think you're starting to see more and more of that. And what this paper is doing is effectively kind of formalising what the communities team do at the moment. I find them very helpful if you find a group that are willing to go along and actually litter pick a certain area, then they will provide advice, they'll provide limited material, etc. So this is about kind of streamlining the process, getting a process in place. And I would really be interested coming back in the future and looking at the effects of this proposal so that we can maybe see, because I think there might be some kind of small kind of recognition scheme for litter champions, but I think this is the way we're going. People realise now that the council can't do everything, they just want to enhance what is already being done.
Thanks, Sean. Willie?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take away from what Sean has just described and as being part of one that volunteered very much in demonstration, demonstrating that it was not the volunteers' responsibility for cleaning the town centre, that we could be taking away jobs. And I recognise what Sean's saying in terms of the continual cutbacks in local government services and so forth. Not at our behest, I hasten to add, but, with a constant 10-year of freezes in council tax, etc. So, there's one way of recognising volunteers, but there's a difference, because I'm grateful for Harry explaining that the 1.4 million is street scene, up very much a huge part of street scene. Now it's being suggested that the volunteers take on that responsibility. And there's a fine line, because, you know, there's a volunteer in going out there and tidying up an area, you know, once a month, twice a year or whatever. But if it becomes the responsibility, then it takes on a different context altogether.
With respect, Willie, they're not taking on a responsibility, they're volunteering.
I'm making the point here without your, that's what needs to be clear. You know, so is it every morning they volunteer, or is it, you know, once a week, or is it, you know, whatever, or is it down to them to determine?
Willie,
because it's all laudable.
Just a second, Willie, it will be crystal clear, right? This is a volunteering scheme.
And the
crystal clear, that's some, okay? David? No?
I'll try another committee on that one, thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, so we'll move to recommendations. One, can we agree to the proposed development of Clean DG and its commencement in April 2019 in accordance with the outline detailed in this report? That's Appendix 1. We agreed? And 2, we agree the Neighbourhood Champions Initiative, paragraph 3.7.3 and Appendix 2. We agreed? Thank you. Sorry? Sorry, that's, I've just been pointed out with governance, it's actually the Appendix 2, take out 3.7.3. Thanks, Ian, for that correction. Okay, item 9, review of public convenience services. Purpose of the report is to seek members' agreement to the scope in terms of reference for the review of public convenience services agreed as part of the Council's budget considerations. Harry's got to take questions on the report. I'm just going to say before we start, this is not a bean fight or a discussion about individual toilets. This is a process paper to allow officers to take something forward. Okay? So, anybody that comes in with a specific toilet, we'll just move on. Right, is that clear? And I hope I've got agreement on that, because this is to let officers go away and do the work we asked them to do. No, David. So we're ready to go to questions. Unless it's a serious question. Yeah, okay. So in that case then, are we happy to move to agree? Sorry, Jane, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, I know that we are trying to create a policy and a reason for this. So that's what I think, if I'm absolutely clear, that's what you'll come back with, which is a rationale for what we're doing. And could I add into that then a rationale with respect to the, I think, perfectly disgusting habits that people have and putting our own staff in danger, which is chucking their human waste out of lorries. And I think we've got to think very clearly about where we need public lavatories with respect to the major routes. And I don't know how you're going to do that work, and whether you know there's enough intelligence as to where this happens and why, and whether you're going to consult the lorry companies or what happens. But, you know, let's do this in a sensible, forward-going way and think about what we plan. It's a bigger issue, actually, than just a lose.
So if I get you correctly, James, what you're looking for here is to incorporate human waste and laybys and things like that into this whole review, and how we deal with that. Is you okay with that, Harry? If you get that. We're agreed with you're happy with the officer's agreement to do that, Jane. Thank you. Item 10. Support for anti-poverty initiatives. The report presents members with a proposed approach to utilising tackling poverty in 1920. The policy development funding following the Council's budget being agreed at full Council on the 28th of February. This Council is committed to tackling poverty, and the proposals in this report provide clear examples of the actions we are taking to address the adverse consequences of poverty in our region. I've got Harry here to ask you any questions on the report, and I'm minded to go straight to questions. John?
Thank you, Chair. On page 105, tackling child poverty, £100,000.
John, just a second. Willie, can you switch your mic off? Thank you. Sorry, John, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. tackling child poverty £100,000, and I know that £100,000 is the almost 3,000 pupils in receipt of the grant times the £34 increase. Could I ask, halfway through the paragraph it says, our council currently provides £100 per eligible pupil. Now that's part of a different funding system. Does that come directly from the Scottish Government?
Thanks, Chair. Last August, Scottish Government agreed a policy that all local authorities would pay a minimum of £100 per eligible pupil, of which the Scottish Government will fund £50. So the Council has already got a budget that contributes £50 towards that 100. The balance comes from the Scottish Government. What this proposal will do is put us in one of the highest paying local authorities in Scotland for eligible pupils. So there already is a budget. This would certainly enhance that and get that money out quickly to the people that need it most.
Yes, actually, just an observation again. Credit union development, I spoke about this last year. It'd be interesting to know if they're actually covering every corner of the region, and if no, I'd like to see that progress. But just an observation, Chair, don't need a response.
Sorry, what are you suggesting, Jim, if you as an elected member identify a location there was a potential for expansion of a credit union, you would like a facilities officers to actually explore that? Is that what you're getting at?
Indeed I would, Chair, and that should be done through the SIMD, etc., etc. I don't think it would be a difficult exercise to conduct. There may be constraints and there may be issues that I'm not aware of, but certainly something I'd appreciate, Chair.
Yeah, I think that's an avenue for members to through our officers to speak to credit unions. Adam?
Thanks, Chair. It's my understanding that there is a sort of Scottish Government strategy, or it's in legislation, that all young people in school have to receive some sort of education on what are they called? Credit unions, that's the word. And I was just, from my understanding, is that correct? And also, are we achieving that to a degree, and is that type of education taking place in our schools?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. There is a policy in place that personal finance, money management, etc. is a core part of the curriculum. The credit union project aims to enhance that, and for example, there are a number of primary schools throughout the region that are actually starting to establish their own mock credit unions, so children get into the habit of saving, realising the impact of where to put it, responsible lending, etc. So absolutely, there's a report coming back to this committee in June, and we have asked the credit union to ensure that the full impact of their project from this 18-19 financial year will be featured in that report.
Thanks, Harry. Willie?
Yeah, Chair, and there's no reference in the report, but I wonder if we should be exploring how we could potentially better use the fair share scheme. We do use it in the region, both east and west, but you know, whether it could be further developed or explored, how we can use this, and then use it in a way that we can get to free school meals, people who are, families who are suffering poverty during the time that they are not at school, and how we provide school meals to the children while they're on holiday or off school. I just wonder if there is a development in this that we should be looking at in terms of how we explore better use or greater use of the fair share scheme.
Willie, I think that's an open door you're shoving. I think I'm totally in agreement with you, and I'm fairly certain, I know that Wendy and the team have been working with local fair share groups and everything else to promote that scheme. Far be it from me, but it's a suggestion for discretionary grants. Okay, wouldn't like to prejudge it, but yeah. No, it's okay.
I think, Chair, it would be good if the committee gave some kind of recommendation on it, you know, so we can use the fair share.
Well, no, that'll come out when we actually finalise the criteria and conditions for the area committee grants and stuff like that. But your point's well made, and it's no lost on the officers or us, so very well made. Okay. Anyone else? No, in that case, then we'll go on to recommendations. One is to agree the outline arrangements for the allocation of the 200k area committee anti-poverty budget for 2019-20. That's paragraphs 3.8 to 3.13. Agreed. 2, agree the outline arrangements for the allocation of the 200k policy development funding for 1920, paragraphs 3.14 to 3.18. Is that agreed? Thank you. And 3, agree that the other initiatives funded through the 2019-20 policy development funding are incorporated into the anti-poverty strategy action plan, which is reported to Communities Committee for scrutiny. That's in paragraphs 3.19 and 3.24. I think that last bit's actually very important because it should satisfy members that the money is getting spent where it should be getting spent. Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, Harry. Item 11 is the face-to-face integrated customer services centre. Report seeks member agreement to the approach for the 3-year review programme in relation to face-to-face integrated customer service centres across the region, which were agreed as part of the Council's budget considerations. I think, like the toilets, this is an enabling paper that allows officers to go away and over the next 3 years come back with some solutions, recommendations for us to make decisions on. Harry, I'm just happy to go straight to questions. Are you? Okay, no question. Thanks very much, members. So we're, 1, agree to the approach of the 3-year programme of review and implementation of changes associated with the face-to-face integrated customer service centres across the region, detailed in this report in paragraph 3.7. Agreed? And 2, agree to receive a further update on progress with the 3-year programme at Communities Committee on the 17th September 2019. We agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 12, the Area Committee discretionary budget arrangements for 2019-20. The report outlines the current position regarding the Area Committee discretionary budget and seeks members' agreement on the arrangements for 2019 to 2020. I've got Liz Manson here to answer questions. And again, I'm minded to go straight to questions, Liz. David?
Thank you, Chair. So, as I predicted a year ago, the discretionary budget has gone down quite a lot and it's withering on the vine. Area committees have shown, well, my one has shown no interest in wanting to be a steering committee for the future, which is participatory budgeting. So, when I go to them, not much appears to happen, although the meeting is obviously excellently chaired. And when can we revisit the existential question on whether we should have area committees, because they look a bit like pensioners' coffee mornings and a bit of a waste of time for the officers.
David's not relevant to this committee. That would change the standing orders. Full council would have to decide the disband area committees, not within my remit or our remit. Okay. If you had a budget, you might have had that proposal in it. Any other questions? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the recommendations. One is note the decision by the council that the area committee discretionary budget for 2019/20 will be 312k, and the area committee allocations at paragraphs 3.3. 2 is note the projects and events which have been ring-fenced by the area committee in the last 2 years. That's the appendix. And 3, agree the strategic framework criteria, paragraphs 3.6 and 3.7. And 4, agree the approach, paragraphs 3.8 to 3.10. Happy no? Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on swiftly to item 13, the civic hospitality budget. This report presents members with a proposed approach to the civic hospitality budget for 2019-20 and beyond. Again, we've all had the report, and Liz Manson's here to take any questions. And I'm minded just to go straight to questions. Okay, I'm not wanting to rush you, but are you happy because we've had the papers for a week, you know? Okay, I'm going to move the recommendations unless there's a question for Liz. So one, we're asked to note the background and arrangements relating to the civic hospitality budget, which set out in paragraphs 3.1 to 3.8. We're happy to note, right? 2 is consider the options available for the civic hospitality budget going forward, paragraph 3.9, and agree the way forward for the future use of civic hospitality budget with option 3 as the recommended approach. Agreed? 3, note the improvements being made in relation to the use of local and fair trade produce for catering, promotion and profile for our council's support for civic events, and the elected member arrangements, paragraphs 3.7 to 3.11. Agreed? Agreed and noted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Liz. Community Facilities Review Update. Okay, the purpose of this report is to provide members with an update in relation to the Community Facilities Review, which is now progressing to the final stages of the process. The report details the continued work to transfer community facilities across Dumfries and Galloway into community management / ownership and or revised lease arrangements. Again, Karen Brownlee is here to answer any questions. So I'll move straight to questions. Sean?
Yeah, it's just a general question. I was at a meeting last night of the Nelson House Management Committee, which was one that decided to not take that full step, but like a 2-step approach. They're now in the position now where they want to move towards a SKIO, and I just wondered, is there a standard maybe example across, because I take it a lot of these groups will have transitioned to SKIOs, and I just wondered if there was an ideal template set to help groups if they want to take that step towards a SKIO.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. Certainly between officers in each ward, we are more than happy to assist each community to progress towards becoming a SKIO or a charitable organisation, so absolutely I'm happy to do that.
David?
Yes, I probably won't name the exact case, but in a briefing we had, we were told about a relatively large 5-figure sum that had been found to help one of these projects along, and it was unclear to me exactly what fund that had come from within the council, and could I ask, where is that so far, and is there any more down the back of it?
I think we need to be careful with the language, Chairman. Just for the public record, there's no money down couches. Therefore, if you have a question, I would maybe suggest to the officer you clarify which particular organisation you're referring to. All money is found through due process. Thank you.
Okay, so we were told that £80,000 had been found for the purposes of the Castle Douglas Community Centre transfer, and it was just unclear to me which exact fund that had come from, and it would be nice to know if there was more in that particular pot.
Okay, there's no more money in that pot. That money was agreed as part of the underspend of this committee of, I recall, 2 years ago, where we agreed to put capital expenditure into community facilities, particularly those that generated a considerable saving to this council. And quite clearly, the Castle Douglas example is one that does generate a big saving. So it was funded from that money. It was one-off monies funded from an underspend that was pushed through this committee.
Thank you. Excellent answer.
Anyone else? No. Okay then, so I'll move on to recommendations. One is note the progress which has been made with the remaining 3 properties within the 2018-19 Facilities Review, paragraphs 3.3 to 3.7. Noting. 2, note the progress which has been made regarding the 9 properties within the 2019-2020 Community Facilities Review, paragraph 3.8 to 3.17. You're happy to note? Thank you. And 3, agree to receive a further progress report to the 11th of June 2019 committee as outlined in paragraph 3.18. You agreed? Thank you very much. Thanks, Karen. You're still here, aren't you? Move on to item 15, Capital Investment Strategy, Land Asset Class Capital Programme. Purpose of this report is to provide members with information on the proposed Land Asset Class Capital Programme for 2019-20 to 21-22 and seeks agreement of the proposed spend for 2019-20. You should all have a bigger size so it's easy to read. Sean? Sorry, Karen, I'm just going straight to questions.
Yeah, it was just really just one question, a little bit more information. I noticed that a repair to the water play feature up Moffat is at a cost of 35,000, so it seems to me that is that more than a kind of repair? Is it more like a major overhaul or refurbishment?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor, I am not aware of the specific details in relation to that. However, I'm happy to get you further information after the meeting.
No problem. You happy with that, Sean? Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? David?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wonder if I can get an update on the Earl of Galloway Monument, just exactly where we are with that one. Again.
Isn't that a surprise?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I can confirm that we're in the process of submitting applications to other funders in order to bridge the funding gap there. And we are hoping that funding bids will be successful and will progress with work later on in the summer. However, we will keep ward members updated and, of course, this committee updated as work progresses.
You okay with that, David? Yeah. Jane?
Thank you. Two questions, please. The sports pitch allocation, I know that this is simply for information, but could you remind me, which seems to have been taken out and going on beyond now? I mean, I do remember, if this is the pitch allocation that I remember, it went to Moffat tennis courts, I think, if that's what I think was the case. But I didn't realise it went on beyond sort of 21-22, and is that still the case? That's still happening?
I think Harry's coming in, Jane, but was that dealt with the SIPL, but Harry will fix it.
Yes, Chair, this allocation, the sports pitch allocation is taken through SIPL committee. So I think in the first year certainly it was allocated almost entirely, if not entirely, to the tennis courts at Moffat. But now clearly they've got a bit of headroom, so they'll be dealing with investment in sports pitches through SIPL committee at this point in time.
Thank you for that. If a second question, just a comment. I notice in the reserve list, and I would like to commend to you the proposal to mend the wall in Wigtown. It's as you come straight into Wigtown, it's the first thing you see is a dunt in the wall as you come in, and truthfully, you know, I see there are things suggested here for mending the cemetery at Kirkcudbright, and I'm not absolutely certain what is the proposal there. So I'm commending to you about, in terms of priorities, the Wigtown one, which is a public-facing sort of mess, is, I think, extremely important. So if that could be seriously looked at, I'd just like to put that marker down. It's a modest amount of money, as you can see.
So are you wanting you're looking to re-prioritise and have that public-facing monstrosity fixed quicker? Ideally,
I'm suggesting to members that it is to officers that I leave it to them to think about it. But if there are places which are less obtrusive, particularly when you've got Wigtown, Booktown coming up at the end of the year, and it's important that we put on a good face, let's think about that.
I'm mindful here, we didn't want to end up with a bun fight here and everybody doing this, but I take your point, and I don't think your confidence are lost on the officers. But of course, everything will be as a process of working out what the priorities are. But I think the views are quite clear. There's nobody arguing with you. So, but I'm mindful we shouldn't make that decision here as a decision-based committee. It's just I get your hint to the officers. Right. Is that the best way to put it? Okay. Anyone else? No. In that case then, we'll just move to recommendations, and we're asked to agree the funding projects for the Land Asset Class Capital Programme 2019-20 as detailed within the report and the appendix. Happy to agree? Thank you. Last and by no means least, the Beautiful Scotland Awards 2019. The purpose of this report is to seek members' agreement to host the 2019 Beautiful Scotland Awards in Dumfries and Galloway in September 2019. Harry is a report writer here. He's going to take us through it. Any questions on this? I'd just like to say before we do, I was very fortunate to be in Haddington when these awards took place last year, with members of the community who actually received awards, as did our council department. And it's a considerable feather in the cap to be asked to actually host it. And the secret here is, can we fund it within existing budgets or within sponsorships we can find? So I'll ask the question, Harry, have we got any potential sponsors or anything like that who can go towards meeting this cost?
Chair, we've certainly had one firm commitment in terms of sponsorship and one further expression of interest so far, and that's without going out to positively seek them. So I think there is some fairly significant prospect of bringing in funding to supplement the budget here. Thank you.
Okay, no questions? So we're happy to agree to host the 2019 Beautiful Scotland Awards in Dumfries and Galloway, set out in paragraphs 3.4 to 3.8, and I'm assuming in that then it's the Easterwood Hall would be the preferred venue. It's the only place big enough.
Chair, we've had quite a lot of thought about potentially where we could host the awards. Dumfries was the preferred town simply because of the number of bedrooms available within hotels locally, given potentially 200 or 300 delegates. And in terms of the facilities within Dumfries, Easterbrook Hall seems to tick the boxes in terms of space, but also the setting within the Crichton grounds. So that would certainly be the recommendation.
Thanks very much. So we're agreed, yep? Agreed. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your input. And we'll see you in June. Thank you. Thanks very much.